together. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Now it's on. Perfect. Let's begin with a short meditation together. Find a position that you can sit in comfortably without having to move or change positions. It should be one in which you're comfortable and the spine is straight but not rigid. And most importantly, one in which the breath can flow freely. Draw the awareness inward. Bring the awareness to your breath. Don't try to change the breath, but just draw the awareness fully into it. It's not you separate from the breath. It's an awareness that merges fully into the breath. So for a moment there is nothing but breathing. Find a position you can sit in without moving. Draw the awareness fully to the breath. The mind goes where the body goes. So stop the body from fidgeting and moving. Let the body be still so the mind has an opportunity to become still. And as you draw the awareness to the breath, instead of drawing it to the breath in the rib cage and lungs, high in the chest, draw that awareness to the breath as low in the abdomen as you can. Find the center, the energy center called the Swadhisthana chakra. It's about 2 inches below your belly button. Draw the awareness to the breath at that energy center. As you inhale and exhale, keep the awareness of the breath as it's flowing in and flowing out. Keep the awareness at that energy center, just about 2 inches below the navel. As you inhale, feel that energy center expand. Feel the breath flow into that energy center. And as you exhale, allow yourself to drop back in to the boundless spaciousness in that center of the being. On the next inhalation, as you inhale, instead of the breath moving in and out horizontally, allow the breath to rise vertically within you. So as you inhale, allow that breath to rise up, beginning at the Swadhisthana chakra and rising up through the being, carrying that breath gently, smoothly through the solar plexus, through the rib cage and lungs, through the throat, and all the way up to your third eye center, the Agya chakra, just between the eyebrows. And then exhale, dropping back down slowly, back down into that core of the being. Don't suffocate yourself. If you can't carry the breath easily, smoothly, on an unbroken breath up to the third eye, don't worry. Just carry it as high as you can easily, and then let it go. But keep the awareness as you're inhaling. Keep the awareness on that third eye, on that Agya chakra. And as the awareness is there, feel it drawing the breath upward to it. And on the exhalations, as you exhale and let go, allow yourself to sink more and more deeply into the core of the being. If you find that the mind still wanders, you can give it a very gentle mantra of so hum. You can chant silently to yourself, so, on the inhalations as the breath is rising, and hum on the exhalations as you're sinking deeper. It means I am that. I am the creator. I am the creation. So I am that. I am one with everything. So hum. So each inhalation, sinking deeper and deeper into the infinite source within you. Higher and higher on each inhalation. Deeper and deeper on each exhalation. Slowly bring the palms of the hands together at chest level and rub them gently against each other. Press the palms of your hands into your closed eyes. Slowly open your eyes and lower your hands. Welcome again to Satsang. We'll begin as always with a question that's come in advance. You can sit right in front if you'd like. You want to come sit right in front? There you go. Better view that way. Fantastic. Good. So we'll begin as always with a question that's come in advance and then open it up to any questions that anyone here may have. When I open myself to compassion for children, animals, etc., I suffer. How do I open myself to compassion without suffering? Most of us think about two options of how to live. One way is the closed way, the way that I am separate from the world. We then embark on a spiritual path, where we feel like something is missing in our lives, that we're not really living in the truest experience of who we are. And so we decide, I'm going to open myself. I'm going to open myself to love, to compassion, to connection, to oneness. And when we do that, the first thing that hits us is pain. Oh my God, all the suffering, the hunger, the thirst, the homelessness, the violence, the deprivation. And a lot of us feel really stuck between these two worlds. Either I protect myself in this illusory bubble that keeps me separate from the world, separate therefore from my truth of connection and oneness, but at least keeps me theoretically safe from suffering. Or I open myself to the truth and I am assailed by pain. And the dilemma is that neither of them is really true. Opening ourselves to compassion is the beginning of the truth. But here's what's interesting. When we open ourselves to compassion, to oneness, to connection, it's not only to people's pain. There's a lot of joy in the world. Yes, there's death, and yes, there's life. And yes, there's horrendous acts of nature. There's fire, there's earthquake, there's floods. And yes, there's blossoming of flowers. There's trees giving fruit. There's sunrises and sunsets and beautiful formation of birds flying together over the banks of the Ganga water as we sit on the Arti, the banks of Ganga for the Arti. And yes, there's lack. And yes, there's abundance. And interestingly, when we open ourselves to compassion, it seems to be this magnetic pull only toward the negative. But on a spiritual level, when we talk about openness and compassion and connection, it's not only to death and sickness and deprivation and sadness and suffering and violence. It's also to joy and health and love and life and creation. And if we are experiencing compassion only for those who are suffering, then we haven't really opened ourselves to the fullness and the truth of all of creation. All we've done is taken our drama, our story, and have carried it from one way of living it into a new way of living it. That instead of perhaps it being suffering about our own lives, now it's suffering about other people's lives. Instead of losing sleep because we are a victim of something, now we get to lose sleep because other people are victims of something. But it's the same box. It's the same drama. It's the same slice of a fullness of reality. And that doesn't mean it's not there. It is there. And yes, compassion includes openness to the night as well as the day, to death as well as to life. But it also includes the day as well as the night. It includes the life as well as the death. It includes the joy as well as the suffering. And so on our path of opening to compassion, it's important to put into practice opening to those in health as well as those in sickness. Opening to those in joy as well as those in sorrow. One of my personal favorite meditations is when we're in our sacred arti, which for me personally, I mean for so many, but I experience it in me, is such a time of just divine ecstasy. Just an experience through no merit of yourself, through no merit of your own sadhana, nothing. We get carried into a divine experience through grace. And so for me, it's this extraordinary time of ecstasy and connection. However, across the river from us and downriver a little ways is the cremation ground for Rishikesh. And according to Hindu tradition, cremations have to take place prior to sunset. They have to begin prior to sunset. You don't start a cremation late in the night. And so a lot of them are still burning when the arti is on, because they've been begun just in time before the sunset, but a cremation takes several hours. And I remember the first time I noticed it, and I was shocked, and I was immediately horrified, because I thought, oh my God, what must it feel like to be standing there over the funeral pyre of a loved one, watching these people across the river have the audacity to celebrate, to sing and to dance and to be joyful. I mean, when we are mourning, when we've lost a loved one, it's like, how dare the sun rise and shine? How dare these people sing and dance and celebrate? My loved one has just died. Our world has stopped, and we sort of expect that the natural world should stop as well. And I was horrified, and I felt very guilty at having the audacity to be singing and celebrating and joyful while these people were mourning. And then I realized that actually one of the beautiful aspects of the Indian tradition is that there isn't these lines and these boxes between life and death, between joy and sorrow, that it's all part of this oneness of experience. And from that moment on, as I'm in the arti, if I look out and I see a cremation going on, normally I keep my eyes closed in the arti, just in ecstasy. But if I notice that there's a cremation, I will purposely keep my eyes open and try to keep them fixed on that funeral pyre. And try in that moment to see whether in my consciousness, it's not about me celebrating in joy over here and experiencing sympathy for those who are over there, but can I actually be in my meditation the one who is standing there burning their loved ones? And then you can take it a step deeper. Can I also be the one in the funeral pyre? Can my meditation go so deep that without losing, I'm not losing the me who's here in the arti. So it's not letting go of the joy and the celebration and the ecstasy, but it's, can my consciousness expand enough? Can I create enough space in my awareness of self to be celebrating over here, in ecstasy over here, and mourning over there, and burning over there? Because that experience of being the one who is celebrating in life, in joy, in ecstasy, and the one who is perished and burning, and the one who is mourning the death and the burning. They are all parts of exactly the same, call it a spectrum, call it an ocean, call it a field. Whatever term we use, it doesn't matter, but they're all part of the same simultaneous reality of truth. And so when we open ourselves to compassion, it's not, I leave my place over here in celebration and I bring myself exclusively into the place over there mourning. That's not compassion. That's just a different false identification. Over here I was identifying only as the one in joy. Now I'm identifying only as the one suffering. Both are false. Can I open myself to the lack of separation between me and the one who is suffering, while I also open myself up to the lack of separation between me and the one who is celebrating? Because as I am one with the mourner, as I am one with the person on the funeral pyre, so I am one with my guru, through whose grace the arti is taking place, through whose grace the ecstasy is happening, who's carrying us into that state of ecstasy. So I am one with the birds flying overhead in this glorious formation of joy. So I am one with the sweet dog who sometimes walks into the middle of the arti, drawn to the middle of a crowd, unfazed, unworried, unanxious, and likes to just lie down and take a nap in the middle of the crowd of singing and dancing people. And so I am one with the children begging for money to be able to eat upriver. And so I am one with all of the abundance. And that's what the actual place that we're looking to go is. So yes, opening yourself to compassion includes suffering. There's no way around that. And that's okay, because remember, the ultimate goal of our life is not to avoid suffering. That's not the game we were put here to play. It's not about how untouched can you make it through the world. Because of course the only way to avoid suffering is to avoid feeling. If you feel, you'll suffer. If you don't suffer, you're not feeling. If you can walk by starving children, by quadriplegic lepers, by homeless people, by polluted rivers, by trees that are being cut down, and not suffer, you're not feeling. But also, if you can walk by flowers that are blooming, and the beautiful flowing waters of the river, and the beautiful trees that are growing, and the joyful laughter of children splashing in the water, and the enlightenment of the old woman who sits on the riverbank, turning the beads of her mala in an ecstasy all her own. If you're not one with that, you're also not feeling. And so when we open ourselves to the fullness, rather than just trading a personal drama for a global drama. And here's the beautiful aspect of that. is by allowing ourselves to be open also to the fullness of the joy and the peace and the abundance, it enables us to be able to stay open to the suffering without needing to shut ourselves down because we can't take it. Because if you only open yourself up to suffering, you won't be able to take it for very long. And then you're not going to be able to be an agent of transformation, a tool of light, a tool of healing, a tool of bringing healing to the suffering. If I'm overwhelmed by the suffering such that I can't get out of bed, such that I need to drown my pain in alcohol or drugs or chocolate cake or Facebook, or such that I need to just shut myself off from it, then I've closed myself to both the possibility of my own awakening and also the possibility of actually being able to effect change in the world I live in. And those are the two highest callings that we have. Our own awakening, our own enlightenment, and through that, to bring light to the world. So open yourself up, but open fully. And when the suffering starts to feel too much, go sit in a meadow of wildflowers and be open to that. Watch the sunset, be open to that. Spend half a day in a kindergarten, be open to that. Such that your inner experience becomes an honest and true experience of the fullness of the world we live in. So, before taking any of the other questions that came in advance, I'm happy to open it up to any questions that are here, if there are any. Well, I'll take another that's come in advance and then give another opportunity. Is there a way to know what is our destiny and how do we fulfill it? The only way to know what your destiny is to be open to the signals of the universe, to be open to the signals of the divine wisdom. As I always say, that wisdom that makes a caterpillar know when it's the right time to become a butterfly, that makes a seed know when it's the right time to sprout. Be open to that wisdom. And also to co-create it. Because our destiny is not something that comes wrapped up in our DNA. You can't do anything about your eye color. It was determined. It was determined when your chromosomes came together in you had whatever you had from your mom, and you had whatever you had from your dad, and brown beats blue if you've got two of them, and so we know how the genetics works. Here's your eye color. Here's your hair color. Here's approximately how tall you're going to be, assuming you were nourished as a child. But beyond a very small handful of things, and beyond some of the karma that we bring in from past lives, beyond that, we are creating our destiny. So whether it's our physical destiny, our spiritual destiny, we're co-creating it. Yeah, some of it is written. You may have a tendency toward, a genetic predisposition toward certain illnesses, certain weaknesses, certain issues. Most of it, live a healthy lifestyle, find yourself a good Ayurvedic doctor or naturopath or somebody to keep the physical body in balance. Most of it can be, if not averted, completely minimized on some level, aided on some level. It's not that we come in with genes and we're victims of them. We co-create it. We co-create that gene expression. Yes, there is DNA. And then yes, there is all of that which we put in, what we eat, what we drink, what we think, how we live. That which is flooding our brains, that which is flooding our bloodstreams through our thoughts, our beliefs, our feelings, our stress levels. The chemicals in our food. And then, of course, there's our non-physical destiny. And again, we're co-creating it. Yes, we come into this world with some past life stuff, horoscope stuff. You can't rewind what stars you were born under. You can't be born again under a different constellation. But again, like our DNA, what that gives us is predispositions, likelihoods, strengths, weaknesses. But it's not giving us an actual blueprint for this is exactly what every brick in the temple of you is going to look like. This is what your elevation will be. This is what your final product will be. No. It's just giving you probabilities, giving strengths, giving weaknesses, giving likelihoods, giving predispositions. But we are co-creating that. And so our ultimate purpose on the highest level for all of us is to wake up. And when you wake up, when you really wake up to the truth of who you are, when we really let go of our attachment to all of the not self, all of those voices that have set up shop in our brains, that have convinced us over the years that somehow they are in charge. You know, in some cities have these laws about, if you've been encroaching on someone's land for long enough, you have, the law of possession, like you've been there and it's illegal to evict someone after they've been squatting on your land for a certain number of years. Some cities have those laws, some don't. But your mind definitely doesn't have those laws. But we act like they do, as though somehow these false perceptions, these voices that are not our true voice, just because they set up shop there decades ago, that somehow they have this right of tenancy. this right to exist there just because they've been doing it. But they don't. And it's up to us to take back the tool of our minds. It's like we've been sitting in the passenger seat, or rather the back seat of our own car, while some lunatic has the steering wheel. And it's a lunatic that's made up, interestingly, of not only like one lunatic, but it's made up of the lunacy of all of that which we've encountered throughout our lives. So all of the issues that our moms had, the issues our fathers had, the issues that our neighbors or extended families may have had, the issues that our teachers were struggling with and they had, and all of the stuff that they told us when we were growing up, all of the not truths that they told us about who we are, our worthiness, our value, our identity, all of the stuff that our culture and our society tells us. We've handed over the steering wheel of our life to this collective lunacy. And we've agreed to just sit in the back seat and let it drive us in circles. And our ultimate collective destiny is to actually wake up to the awareness of this is what's going on. And then to step up to the plate of really realizing who we are. It's not about wresting control. It's not about fighting ourselves for that control. Because interestingly, when you really can see that lunatic driver, it withers away in the driver's seat. You don't have to actually throw it out of the car. Its grip literally just loosens and it withers. And so that's what we are actually all called to do. That's our destiny, is to wake up to the truth of who we are and then move through the world in that truth. And that's all we're called to do. The rest of it is the actions that we do when we are awake, or as we wake up, or in service of waking up. So we surrender. We become a tool in the hands of God. We let go of our death grip on how we want it, when we want it, into the flow of grace. We let go of all of that false identity, of the voice in our head that says there is something wrong with this moment. There is something wrong with me in this moment. And we realize this moment is all there is. And we realize the perfection of this moment and the perfection of us in this moment. And then our destiny just happens. The caterpillar doesn't worry. But how do I know? How do I know when I get to become the butterfly? How do I fulfill becoming the butterfly? All it has to do is stay quiet enough that it can hear that signal that says finally, climb the tree. And in the same way, we just have to stay quiet enough. And we'll fulfill it. And the last piece that's important to mention is, it may not even become apparent to us as we are living that we are fulfilling our destiny. We may not even necessarily know the ripple impact of what we are doing. Because the other thing that we're not here for is to make sure that we get lots of appreciation from the world around us, to make sure that we get lots of acclaim from everyone saying, oh, wow, thank you. And so, as we fulfill our destiny, we may have no idea of the ripple impact of what we are doing on the world. Rosa Parks had no idea. And she didn't get on that bus and say, I know. It is my destiny to be a leader of the civil rights movement of America. She just knew. I'm not moving to the back of the bus. What that ripple impact was going to be, she didn't know. And that wasn't even the intention. All she had to do in that moment was be grounded and anchored in the truth of who she was, that knew that she was worthy of occupying her place on planet Earth. Right there, exactly where she was sitting in that moment. And that neither was there anything wrong with the moment, nor was there anything wrong with her. And the ripple impact was enormous. When Mahatma Gandhi, who wasn't even called Mahatma Gandhi at that point, was riding a train in South Africa and got thrown off a train for not being of the right color to be sitting where he was sitting. He wasn't thinking, I know my destiny is to start a revolution. My destiny is to be an icon of nonviolent movement. He just knew. I deserve to occupy my place on planet Earth, right here, right now. Not from a place of ego, not from a place of separation, but rather from a place of oneness. And it set off a ripple impact from South Africa to India, and from India to the world. And I mention this because if you look back over history at some of the greatest leaders, at those whose ripple impact was perhaps the largest and the most powerful, it wasn't that they sat in a room trying to figure out what is my destiny? How do I find it? They simply needed to know what is my truth in this moment and how do I surrender to it? How do I, in love, in humility, in truth, and in strength, be a tool in the hands of the transformation that the world needs to happen? They didn't need to know how their tool was going to be used. Gandhiji had no idea that that entire station was going to be named Mahatma Gandhi Station, and that now tourists were going to go to see the station where he got thrown off the train. It's not about that. It's about living our truth, opening ourselves to our truth, getting the lunatic off the steering wheel so that we stop going in circles. And have that grounding in love, in humility, in surrender, and in strength. To be used as a tool, however the divine flow knows it's supposed to happen. Because we don't always get the advanced memo. Neither of them woke up that day with a memo that said, "Today's your day." Every day was their day. And that's our destiny. It's to make every day the day that we wake up. We ground ourselves in love and truth and humility and surrender and strength. And we move from there. And we let the universe take care of the ripple in the ocean. We just worry about our impact, where we are when we're there, and the rest will take place automatically. Have a beautiful rest of your evening. A bit of a heads up. We will have satsang tomorrow. There will be satsang tomorrow. But tomorrow will be our last satsang for a week. Day after tomorrow, I will be out for 6 days. So again, there will be satsang tomorrow, but then after tomorrow, we will start satsang again on the 17th. So hope to see you all tomorrow, but wanted to start giving the notice in advance in case I don't see you tomorrow, that I will be in Africa for a week. Actually in Africa for 5 days, but there's travel back and forth. At a beautiful summit being put on by the United Nations in Nairobi, particularly focused on women and girls and their rights and their empowerment. And it's an honor to go and an honor to be there. So I'll look forward to seeing you all tomorrow, and then hopefully also to seeing you a week later.